Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I wore my red for your session.
Oh, thank you.
How's it going overall?
It's been good. It's been a busy month. Got a couple more events this week to go to attend to. So yesterday I had like a book launch party with my family. So yeah, it's been
Hmm,
it's been a busy June.
that's so awesome. I know
Yeah.
I finally finished your book yesterday at the pool. I was like at the
Oh,
end and I needed to finish. And I was like, wow, I feel like it was so nice to hear your story. And I definitely was like, so I was in the pool. It was really funny. I should tell this story when we're actually like started, but I was in the pool and I was like, I need to write this down. But I was like in the pool reading on the side.
yeah.
I'm like, hopefully I'm gonna remember this later.
Well, I hope you enjoy the book.
I did. I did. I want to give a little real candidness in my when I think we have a couple of people joining and then we're gonna record also for YouTube. So
Yeah.
figure like I'll do a official kickoff and stuff like that. But I did, yeah, it was definitely I was like I'm inspired.
Oh,
And
thank
I'm
you.
gonna take your advice because I'm gonna like launch something today that I was
Yeah.
thinking that I've been thinking about forever, but like
Yeah. I
overthinking.
yeah, I think the most important part is just launching it, even if it goes well or not go well, at least you've done it. And then whatever happens, you can do something else or just or like just get feedback. Like, what do you think? Just kind of pivot.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
totally.
it, really.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's
Yeah.
okay. Like yeah,
Yeah.
and I think the point about failure is like well received. I think we like all fear failure so much, but like failure can be an asset. So,
Yeah. I mean,
um, yeah.
kindergarten. So, like, who fails kindergarten? I do.
Yes. Yeah. But that's truly what it is. And it's like, are people going to like me? Are they going to like this thing? And, yeah,
Yeah.
I can
I
100%.
mean, doesn't mean what I launch works. I just put it out there and be like, okay, on to the
Yeah,
next.
I know.
So,
Well, but that's the reality. Like everybody that ever did it because they started something. They
yeah.
did something, right? Like nobody talks about the thing they didn't do. You know, oh, remember that thing I didn't do? No, nobody talks about.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what you're talking
Yeah. So,
about. Um, okay, I wrote down some more questions, but I just thought of one other one and just put it down here. And then I'll officially start in like 4 or 5 after. I
yeah,
hope that
no
some
worries.
folks could join in because we had some signups, but I know with our Asia counterparts, I often get people earlier in the morning, so
Yeah.
it just be
I
a
think that's
record. We
recorded
might
totally
record in
fine.
podcast style. Yeah, exactly. I usually we trim off the beginning and stuff, and then just get it started when I do like official.
Okay.
Um, I know I wanted to talk about your podcast too.
Oh, nice.
Okay. So are you busy with a lot of events and stuff going on now since you've launched this?
Yeah, but I had them before the book launch, so and I guess it just all tied in together, so which is
Nice.
yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just doing what I can.
No, it's awesome. I mean, it's great. I was like asking, because I asked you, I was like, well, what was your day job? Like, what do you do? And you're like, yeah, I do speaking and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely need more women speakers out there because there's not enough.
Yes, I know. Well, a
Even
friend of
like
mine went into speaking. Like, she just did that, and I was like, how do people just do this? It's amazing.
just do it. You just do it and kind of every day I'm just figuring it out. Okay, well this worked, this didn't work. Okay, well
Yeah.
um yeah, it's funny because sometimes when I'm at events, sometimes I'm like the only female speaker and it's like, what the hell? It's 2025, we still get this.
I know. And I feel you on that. And I also go to events and I'm sometimes the only Asian in the room. I'm like, also, what the heck? It's
Yeah, so
2025,
yep.
There was
So
an event I did recently and they were like, I just looked at the whole lineup and I was like, it was just so many non-colored people. I don't know, that's not the right word, non-people of color. It was just, I was surprised. I was just like, huh? Kind of
yeah,
like, Okay, we have Karen is joining us. Let's see. I'm gonna let somebody in. Hey there, welcome. I think that you joined. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
here we
Karen.
go.
Hey, Karen.
Hi, Karen. Welcome.
Hi.
How are you? Nice to see you here. We're just about to get started here in a minute. Wonderful to have
Good to
you.
see you, Sheena.
Hey, no, great to see you again. Karen actually lives in Toronto as well.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I was gonna say you may have some great candid question time with Sheena here if you want it. So start picking your brain, thinking of your right questions because we have a little bit of a smaller group. But I'm gonna officially just kick us off and we'll keep letting people in as they join.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to dive in. Sheena and I already started talking about all the things, so I'm like, I gotta make this part of the official recording. So Karen, just so you know, I am recording this, and I put it on YouTube for. Um, I have a channel for South Asians in customer success, so I'll be putting it on there, and I also have another channel. So I'll probably be trying to figure out if I can do two channels of the same content, but I have another channel that I'll be putting it on too. So
That's
just
cool.
for your knowledge, we do record. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll kick off and say welcome, an official welcome to everyone. Look at your wonderful stack of books back there, Karen, by the way. Welcome everyone to our session today. I'm really excited to chat today with Sheena Yap Chan. And Sheena and I got connected in, I feel like the LinkedIn ecosystem, right? Where like we never have met, but I've been following her for some time since she wrote her first book, The Tao of Self-Confidence. And I was just so amazed and so impressed at that point. And I love seeing an Asian woman in a prominent position as an author and really just, kind of owning it. And then lo and behold, she writes a second book and in a really short amount of time. So we're here. Our focus today is to talk about, oh gosh, I always hate when I have my background on, bridging the confidence gap. That's our focus, but we're going to dive into all the things because I can't stay on topic very well. I just said a lot, but Sheena, take a moment, please introduce yourself, and would love to have everyone in the audience get to know a little bit about you.
Yeah, for sure. First off, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited to chat about the latest books. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Sheena Yap Chan. I'm a keynote speaker, Wall Street Journal bestselling author, podcaster, and strategist on confidence and leadership. Everything really started by creating my podcast, The Tao of Self-Confidence, where I've interviewed over 800 Asian women on the topic of confidence, which was, for me, much needed 10 years ago when I was dealing with my own confidence issues. And for me, representation was also important. Just living in Canada, not seeing anybody in the media that looked like me. And I realized if I wanted representation, I had to start with myself. So it's gotten over 1.3 million downloads since it started. And for me, as much as I love the podcast, it was still a small platform when it comes to visibility in media, and that's why I decided to tap into books. So I have my first one, which is a co-authored book called Asian Women Who Boss Up, which highlights the stories of 18 Asian women sharing their stories. And that led me to writing my first book with Wiley, The Tao of Self-Confidence, A Guide to Moving Beyond Trauma and Awaken the Leader Within. And I had less than 3 months to write that. So
Just that, yeah.
yeah, and then that became a Wall Street Journal best-selling book, and now I have my latest book, Bridging the Confidence Gap: How Empowered Women Change the World. And this really stemmed from a report from the World Economic Forum mentioning that gender parity would be achieved at the earliest in the year 2154. But that's actually when I wrote the book, which was last summer. Now it's delayed 4 more years. So now it's 2158.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I feel like at the rate we're going, it's gonna take a lot longer. So this is why books like this are so important, why confidence is such a huge part in our journeys, because without confidence, we won't be here today, right? And people don't realize how much confidence plays a role in it, especially for women. As women, we tend to overthink, we tend to feel like we're not good enough when we are more than enough to go out there and create an impact. So that's a little bit about me, and I also do speaking on confidence and leadership for organizations, corporations, industry conferences. So yeah.
There's like so much to unpack here, Sheena, and I totally jumped right into and I didn't say who I was. So I'm just going to take a minute and do that. So my name is Parul Bhandari. I'm a customer success consultant and leader I've been doing customer success for about a decade now and have been working in industry for about 20 years. I am dating myself by saying these things. I am really focused on driving customer success and leadership success. So, what I love to see in people that I meet and why I wanted to chat with Sheena over these last couple of years is just people that are kind of people that are builders, right? Like I believe I'm a builder. I love to build things. I love to have ideas. I think what you've done, Sheena, is like you take a lot of idea to action. And I liked that a lot about your book. So we're going to dive into all the things that you've done today and have some time to just get to know you better. So tell us a little bit about, I want to just go way, way back because this is, I run a community called South Asian Success. So I post this on my South Asian Success channel for a reason because I personally think we all have these similar kind of stories if we have an Asian background. Many of us grew up in a similar way. So I'm kind of curious. Tell us a little bit about your background. What was it like where you grew up, family kind of stuff? Were you a first generation, a second generation, beyond?
Yeah, I was born in the Philippines. I moved to Toronto when I was 7. And everything really started from living here, not being able to be seen in the media. When you look, there's no TV shows or magazines that highlighted Asian women. So always felt ashamed of who I was. And then also in the Philippines, it's a very conservative country. So I grew up going to an all-girls school in kindergarten, which led me to failing kindergarten for coloring outside the lines. Like I literally had to move to another school and redo kindergarten all over again, all because I couldn't color one photo within the lines. So um, I did go through a lot of confidence issues, not feeling good enough, couldn't make a decision, resisted a lot. All because, especially in Asian culture, we're taught to never make any noise, stay in the background, just do as you're told. And so we have a lot of feelings that we keep in and we don't let out, which leads to so many other things, which is why I wrote my first book because trauma plays a huge role in that, right? Not a lot of people realize their trauma stops them from moving forward. So when people ask me, how do you build confidence? I usually ask them, well, what's the reason that's really stopping you from moving forward, right? What's the root cause? So yeah, that's a little bit about my upbringing.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. I mean, and I like to set the tone here because I think what you spoke to, like many of us, I can resonate with, and I'm sure many other folks can too. Being a woman, being, of South Asian descent, being a minority in the country we live in, but even not, right? Like even those that are in the country that they live in, right? Not necessarily having a voice and maybe not really understanding even how to recognize your trauma or recognize what's holding you back, right? So I think all of these things are definitely, very, very relatable. So I'm so glad we have the chance to chat. And I'm sorry, I'm just charging my laptop because I forgot to do that. All right. So your podcast, you started, I mean, I know you wrote a book, Asian Women Who Boss Up. And then did the podcast come first, second? What was kind of the order of operations and what made you come to the podcast is kind of my big question.
Yeah, the podcast was actually the first one. In 2015, I was dealing with a lot of confidence issues, and I was looking for resources that specifically catered to Asian women, but there wasn't any. And then, so part of me thought maybe I was the only one dealing with it. And at the same time, representation was still very important for me. So this is why I decided if I wanted representation and provide a support system, I'm just going to start it, even if I had no clue what I was going to do. And so that's how the podcast came about. And then during the lockdown, I realized that I needed to increase my visibility, not just for myself, but for our community. And so that's when I decided to get into different forms of media, which led to doing the first book, Asian Women Who Boss Up, the co-authored book, and then it kind of snowballed into everything else. So yeah.
From that. Yeah. And I looked at your podcast just to check, and you're on episode 920 that I saw, which is like incredible. That is a huge milestone. You're almost at a thousand. Like, how does that feel?
It feels surreal sometimes, I guess. I was happy if like 5 people listened, to be honest. So, the fact that more than 5 did, I'm good. So I'm
Oh my
grateful.
gosh, many more than five. Okay. So decided, I'm going to do a podcast. I want to try other media. And I get what you're saying because that's kind of interesting, right? Like, I think many people in my space are doing podcasts, like many people in the world that I work in do podcasts. And maybe you don't think of it as like, you think like, hey, anyone can access it on on Spotify or on whatever they listen to it on. But maybe there's not that same reach. And it's interesting they say like books have that reach, right? Because like I think it's a media form that for many people is almost like doing the opposite of what's happening to other print, right? So it's like growing and booming. So you got into the world of authorship in a co-authored book, and then sort of decided, hey, I'm going to do my own story. And did you lean into the podcast for the stories, or what was kind of the impetus for writing the book based on the same title?
It's actually a funny story because I didn't expect to write my first solo book. It kind of came to me. Someone from the publisher actually bought a copy of the first book, the co-authored book, which kind of like led into that. So I got invited to speak for the publisher's Asian Heritage Month a couple years back, and that's when
Nice.
they asked if I wanted to work with them as an author. So if I didn't have that book, I wouldn't have these books today. And
That's
and
awesome.
it's not a typical story, right? But yeah, I mean, you just never know what happens when you just go out there, make the first move, reach out, it can snowball into other things as well. So yeah.
So cool. So very cool. And I mean, I feel like that also shows the impact of that first book. I think I told you, like, when you said you did a co-authored book first, I was like, what? I have a co-authored book coming out this year. And I was like, you sometimes feel like it's a diminished situation because I contributed a chapter, but there's a ton of impact. There's a ton of reach that comes with that as well, right? So it's kind of exciting to see that you had your next book come right out of that. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, I think, it doesn't matter if it's a chapter or a whole book, you're part of a book. It's still a marketing tool. You can use it anytime. I still use it till today. People love it. And, it's not just you who's promoting the book. There's like 10 other people or 15 other people who are doing the same thing. So they see a snippet of your story, they like what they read, and then they might reach out to you, follow you, check out your products and services. So, I mean, there's always this like myth that like it's shameful to, like having a self-published book is like not cool. But everyone starts somewhere, right? And there's nothing wrong with having a self-published book or having a self-published co-authored book. The fact that you have something out there is important. And, it might take small steps. It might start with a chapter and then maybe the next thing it's a book, right? So I think people need to take away this misconception that having a self-published book isn't great. It is great, right? Like everything, there's pros and cons, but you work with what you have and utilize it, and then you just be resourceful. So I utilized it. I pimped it out like there was no tomorrow, and then it led me to this. So yeah.
Well, okay. And talking about that, because I love that phrase that you just used, because you said the same thing you said in your book, the Bridging the Confidence Gap, you literally said, like, I pimped out my book. I'll be at a coffee shop and I'll have a copy of it sitting on the table. And I was like, whoa, blown away. Like, I think we forget that we are our own best tools for marketing sometimes, and marketing can be anywhere you are. And when you have a book that can reach any audience, I mean, that is just an awesome thing to hear. And I was like, oh my God, I write this was the thing. I'm just saying this for the everyone that didn't hear. I was in the pool finishing Sheena's book, and I wanted to write this down, and I was like, I need to have, I'm in the water currently, and I couldn't write this down, but this was a very salient point. So I love that you brought that up. Your book is really authentic. Like, speaking of your language, I actually loved your style, right? Because I think you just speak like as if I'm having a conversation with you. Luckily, I
Yeah.
had one pre-conversation, so I already kind of knew you just say it like it is. But I was really interested in that. And I'm kind of also interested in, did you feel like you could translate that into the written style very easily? Were you able to like just kind of like flow of consciousness? Like, how did that process go for you of actually getting it down on paper? 3 months is also like incredibly fast for anything. So
Yeah.
at this length.
I mean, when you have a tight deadline, you have no choice but to make it happen. So, I mean, it was my first book that I've ever written by myself. When I came to Canada, I couldn't even speak English properly. I had to take English classes. And so I share that to show people like you don't have to be like perfect, right? You can have broken English. You always find a way to get things done. But I just made a commitment and made it happen, even if I had no clue what I was doing. So I would be at Starbucks all the time in the weekends writing this book. I would watch different shows that would be relatable to the topic and kind of utilize that in the book as well. and just a lot of research, right? What did that look like? And I just kept writing it as it went along. And people don't realize sometimes when you write, you just write. You write. Like you doesn't matter if it makes sense or not, you just let it all out. And then once you're done, you can like figure out how that flow looks like. With the
Yeah.
publisher, it's they give me an editor to work with so that they help me with how it flows, what content to add, things like that. So I mean, there, of course, there's a lot of work you put into when writing a book, but people don't realize there's even more work when you market a book. So
Yeah.
you can write a book, and if you don't tell anybody, then it's just collecting dust, which means, all that effort you did goes to waste. And that's why I have a whole chapter on self-promotion in the new book, because self-promotion is so needed, especially for women, and we need to take away this notion that it's shameful and it's not ladylike. Self-promotion is empowering, and we need to utilize it more to break barriers, make history, change the way we see things, so we can normalize it.
100%. So let me ask you this. So in South Asian culture, we often would hear you don't over celebrate, you don't talk about things, and it's more for the evil eye. That's kind of our, like we say a word like nazar, right? Is basically the evil eye. Is it similar for you where you grew up? Like kind of the
Yeah.
taboo of talking about things, or is it just like it's not respectful? I'm just curious of the parallels.
Yeah, I mean, being in Chinese and Filipino culture, I mean, we're taught not to share our achievements. We don't want to be showy. So it's the same thing, right? We don't want to be arrogant. We don't want to be too braggy. Um, so we never shared anything because we didn't want to be seen as braggy or too much or too arrogant. And I get this question all the time, like, when do you know, like, how much is enough? Or what if people think you're arrogant when you promote yourself? And really, you're not going to please everybody. There's going to be people out there who will not like you. So, I mean, I think that's just the hard, honest truth. And when you can learn that, then you just keep going, right? And there's no real amount as to how much is too much. I mean, it depends on you, right? Like, look at the Barbie movie. Look how many times they promoted that. They had so many collaborations with other companies, like even having a Barbie Xbox, right? I mean, it's like the most random thing, a Barbie themed Xbox. But because of the constant promotion, it led them to the first billion-dollar movie that was led by a woman. And so
Yeah.
if they didn't do that, we wouldn't have that barrier broken. We wouldn't have made history. And now it gives other female directors a chance to create big budget movies or create movies that could have the potential to earn $1 billion worldwide. Because for so long, too, Hollywood didn't think women were bankable. Yet here's a movie about a doll that made over $1 billion all over the world. So
That's such a great point. I mean, oh my gosh, yeah. And I think like it's a good lesson learned. It's like a hard lesson learned. But for everybody out there that's like, you know, I think this even is for males in Asian culture. I don't think it's just for females, but like
yeah,
this is something that you really have to like step out of your comfort zone, right? To advocate for yourself, to really learn how to promote, not just advocate, promote, right? Now you're actually like shifting into marketing. That's the only way that the work gets recognized. You can build the best thing ever, but no one will ever know about it without some real good marketing. I love that. Um, okay, I love that your book is about empowering women. Obviously, you talk about some very sad and harsh realities of the world that we live in. And I think since you wrote the book, unfortunately, like not always in a positive trajectory here.
yeah,
But there are some really positive stories of women overcoming. You talk about failure, right? And I think failure, we talked about it a little bit ahead of time, but like we fear it. Failure is what I mean. I right now have a thing that I want to launch. It's not a big thing, it's a little thing, and I have a fear of failure, right? But you said it so well, right? Like in the book that like so many amazing athletes, right? Like if you look at Simone Biles, if she had accepted defeat, right, would she be where she is today?
yeah.
And Vera Wang, like started her company out at 40 years old, right? Those examples are amazing. Like tell us a little bit about yourself. Like what maybe are some real life stories of things that you tried that didn't stick that might inspire somebody?
Yeah, I mean, I put a lot of different digital products out there. It doesn't mean it always sticks. Sometimes I don't hear anything, right? And so part before I would feel bad about it, but I didn't like I realized that that's just part of the process, right? You're going to put stuff out there. It's not always going to work. It's not always going to be 100%. It's not going to hit, a home run all the time. Sometimes it's more than 3 strikes. It could be 10 strikes, 100 strikes, but you keep moving forward. Even when applying for speaking engagements, like probably 9 out of 10 I get rejected. And so when you get like 10 rejected emails, it can be very depressing, and you may want to start eating your feelings, after get one by one by one. That's all really part of the process, right? Because the ones that do say yes make a huge difference. Like, never did I think I would speak for so many different industries, like manufacturing, random, AI, finance. But I realized confidence is a universal language. So every industry that I speak at, confidence is so much needed, especially in those very male dominated industries where we need more women, right? I go to these conferences, maybe like 20 to 30% are female attendees, and it's unfortunate because we definitely need more women in every industry to achieve gender parity. And so at this rate, I still feel like that number I mentioned would probably be even delayed more. So
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And it is a staggering number. It makes you really think about like why is that okay? And I think like we have to do better. Like you've said, right? Like we have to, if we don't make that change, the change is not just going to come to us, right? And women are already feeling so many forms of repression. Doing like, I think in the book you even dive into like how the household is run, and right, like how do we manage a lot of things, we carry a lot of weight. Are we able to still be successful and overcome? I'm sure you talk about this with many people, and I'm sure people bring this up to you and they say like, okay, Sheena, so I'm a parent now, right? I'm going to choose to leave the workforce because I'm going to be a parent. I think we see such an exodus of women when that happens. Like I'm a parent, and I will say, as soon as I had kids, I definitely thought about it super hard, right? I definitely thought like, I don't think I can do this all. I managed to stay in the workplace, but not everybody does. Like, what is your sort of advice to people, or what have you, I guess, not advice, even just like thoughts about like the times that we live in? How are some ways that we could overcome, even in the most challenging of periods, right, where we question everything?
yeah, I think learning not to be alone in this journey is really important, especially in Asian culture. We've been taught not to ask for help, do basically do everything yourself, learn to work hard. Working hard can only go so far. We have to learn to work smart, collaborate with other groups, collaborate with other people, ask help from your own family. There's nothing wrong with that. If you need like an hour of your time to work on your business, ask your family for that, and you can barter with them, right? Like, if you give me an hour, I'll take you to your favorite ice cream place, whatever it is, right? These little things can make a huge difference. And as women, like, we don't have 12 hours a day to work on business because your biz I'm not a mother, that's one thing, but I still help my sister out, picking up my nephews and things like that. Women are just natural born caretakers, regardless if
Right.
you have kids, right? And so you just have to have non-negotiables, set boundaries, to so that it works for you, and also talk to your loved ones. Like, I need to, like, in order for us to um, thrive as a family, I need to take some time to myself so we can have more time for each other, right? Like, help them see the bigger picture. And you as a unit are a team, right? I,
Yeah.
one thing I've noticed is that women who have partners who are very supportive in their businesses thrive even more. I've seen where, husbands have left their job to help build their wives' businesses because it's gone a lot, because they're able to um, succeed, right? And they realize that having that partner really helped them even move forward because they're doing different things that you might not be good at, right? You're not good at
Mhm.
everything. I'm not good at everything. And so having that help can go a long way. And
Yeah.
so I think having help is really important, knowing you're not alone. And then also, like, I guess having regular talks, because I understand it's not just about you. You have kids, you have other family members. So it's it's bigger than you sometimes, right? So you have to have this conversation, this brutal, honest conversation to see what that looks like, how we're going to do things, especially in a time like right now, everything is so bleak, like, we don't really know what's going to happen. Every day is something new. And so, we try to prepare as much as we can. But I think also the pandemic kind of helped us realize like we can pivot at any moment and we know how to pivot things. So I think um, doing those things can really help, having open conversations, creating boundaries, knowing, just looking at taking a step back and really think about what that next step would look like for you and how that would look like. Because I didn't do that. What I did was I wouldn't advise what I did because I just like I did it based on emotions, and sometimes doing things based out of emotion isn't always a good thing. But like I mentioned, but everything happens for a reason. Everyone's in their own journey, but I wouldn't advise what I did for other people.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you make a great point. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help. And like, I think oftentimes we do kind of feel like I can do it all. I can like cook a meal. I can do
Yeah.
laundry. I can whatever. Like, kids or not. I mean, there's just a lot of things that we take on our shoulders. Like, I love that picture of like, a woman like walking up the stairs at the end of the night with like every contraption in her hand, just trying to carry it all at once. That's really many of us can relate. But like that simple thing of asking for help and knowing that, A, it's okay. B, we have to normalize it. And we have to also be okay to say, like, I need this, right? Or I need this time for myself. Cause like, otherwise, there is not like personal growth and personal success. And right, without that, any kind of life can be challenging, no matter what you choose, no matter what path you choose. So I hope that's inspiring to women because I think that's really nice if you are kind of going through a transition, a big transition in life or a caretaking situation, and you think like, I don't think I can do it all. Like it's like you can, but you can't do it alone, right? So
Well,
I
yeah,
love that.
you can have it all, but not at the same time. I think
Yeah.
that's what people don't realize. Like you can have it in different seasons of your life, um, but you can't have it all at once. It's impossible, right? Unless you have help, unless you have the right tools and resources to help you get there. But to do it all alone, it's impossible. Men don't do that. Men always like like delegate things, right? If
Yeah.
like they're on Canva trying to create a graphic, they're like, I'll just outsource it.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think like you just said something really interesting about the seasons of your life because I actually honestly had heard that, but not really a lot, but I've been hearing a lot more. I've been hearing of friends and people in like my industry where they're like, I'm hustling right now. This is like the season I'm in, or I'm not hustling right now. This is the season I'm in. And I thought that's kind of interesting. And that's kind of also inspiring that you're you could be in a season, you could be doing something. Maybe you're not in the build phase. Maybe you're in the coast phase because you need to be for whatever reason. Or maybe you're in the I'm trying to grow my business stage from where it is. I'm not trying to like build something new. There can be a lot of interpretations of what that means. And I thought that I've been hearing that a lot. So I love that you brought that up too. I want to talk to you about the book, like shift a little bit into the book, and then I want to open up to some questions from folks too. Um, I love your, I don't want to give all the things away, so I'm not going to give it all away, but I love your framework at
Okay.
the end, right? Ready, aim, fire, the opposite.
Ready,
Not ready,
fire,
aim,
aim.
fire, ready, fire, aim, right? Ready, fire, aim. But like, I
Yes.
love your framework and it's such a simple thing. And I even said to you before this call officially started, I said, like, I myself am on this, like, I keep creating things. I keep going, like, I need to push this out. I need to do this. I need to hit go. And I also hesitate. I hold back because I'm a perfectionist or whatever. I love this framework because it's actually giving me a way to rethink, right? Get ready, prep, don't be unprepared, but just go with it. Like, go with it and pivot and learn. Tell me a little bit about that, like sort of experience of researching and learning this for the book as being like a salient point.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I actually learned that from somebody else, that
I
term ready.
love it. I saw.
And I was like, oh yeah, because like we're always trying to like ready, aim, fire, but if you keep trying to aim, like nothing happens. And so sometimes you just got to go out there, take action, and just course correct as you go. Are you going to be ready? Probably not. I'm not ready half the time I'm doing things. I wasn't ready to write this book in less than 3 months. I wasn't ready to write another book. So I just
Recording.
wanted, um,
Sorry, I have a child here. You keep going.
yeah, no worries. So, so yeah, I just decided, oh, hello. So I just said, I'm just going to do it. And other people have done that as well. I mean, most successful entrepreneurs, they just do it, figure it out, and just keep moving forward. Like a couple weeks ago, I decided I was going to create a an online event, and I had no clue what I was going to do. I just put it up. I had about a week, a little over a week to promote it and get people to attend, right? So by promoting it, sharing it, even sending DMs to people, I was able to get 60 signups and 26 people showed up.
Amazing. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and I was like, I was fine if 5 people showed up or even 2 people.
Yeah.
I mean, if I just waited, then I wouldn't have gotten that, right?
Yeah.
And that I added the presentation because since it was recorded, added it to a bundle to create an online product. So you just do things, put it out there, test it out, get feedback, and then you can figure out what are the things your audience needs because really as an entrepreneur you're trying to solve a problem, right? So
Yeah.
and it's funny because I saw someone on Facebook who mentioned, when people ask you what you do, instead of saying what you do, start with what problem do you solve? And that for me was a big shift because, you know, you can say, yes, I'm a speaker. It's like, yeah, you're a speaker, but what do what's the problem you're trying to solve, right? So when you can say it from that perspective, then it helps people be more interested. Oh, you help people build confidence. Oh, you help people with their leadership skills. Oh, you're trying to help people scale their business. How do you do that? Right. So then just that little tweak can make things a lot easier for you as well. Right. Because especially if you're at networking events, everyone tells everybody what they do, right? Like I'm a real estate
Yeah.
agent, author. But instead, it's like if you did it the other way, it's like I help people find their dream homes. I help people cure diseases, whatever, right? Isn't that more interesting to say that? Like, I help people reach their full potential through workshops and talks or whatever, books, and then they'll be more interested in that because especially like confidence, everybody needs help with confidence. Even myself, I never know. Like half the time, I don't know what I'm doing. Like
Yeah.
the ready, fire, aim approach, and I was like, okay, I'll just do it, see what happens.
Even Sheena needs her own frameworks. I love it. No, but I think like it is so important. And I mean, I think that when you and maybe it's nice to say there are probably things in your life that you already do this, right? Maybe you're like, hey, I'm going to try a new recipe and you just try it and you don't think much about it. And if it goes well, it goes well. And it doesn't, it doesn't. But maybe we need to think about how to like bring that like sentiment to reduce the fear. Because the fear of failure is in fact a big driver. And we know that, for many of us, that's probably going to hold us back. Um, okay. So let me start with just asking you a broad question, right? So for somebody who's, saying like, hey, Sheena, I'm feeling like I have imposter syndrome. I walk into the room at work. I'm surrounded by, you know, several men, right? Maybe not, maybe no females or whatever it is. And it's overwhelming for me or it's intimidating for me and I can't perform. Like they come to you for this coaching. Like what's kind of I know you said some of the questions you ask people. I'm kind of curious, like what kind of advice do you give somebody like that?
I think I think for me too, it's important to kind of go back and see why you feel that way. People don't realize our brain protects us from past events that have hurt us. So maybe there was a time in your life where you were in a position where you were, in a room full of men and something happened and it brought your confidence down. So when you're in that position again, your brain's protecting you, saying like, do you remember that time 10 years ago this happened? Well, I don't want that to happen to you again. But then you have to understand that was like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you're in a different situation. This is a different setting. And you kind of have to tell your brain, like, I really am grateful that you are looking out for me and that you're protecting me. But hey, imagine if we were able to do this, what we can achieve. I mean, it's not always going to be a win, but at least you're able to go out there and share an idea or reach out to people. And I've been in spaces where I'm like the only woman, right? And it is uncomfortable, but at the same time, it's also a learning lesson. We can learn a lot to see like, what's it like being surrounded by all these women, right? Like, what do
Yeah.
they talk about first? And then they learn from us too, like I remember I went to dinner with some men in the like Microsoft space. And I mean, I had no clue that Microsoft had this whole ecosystem and they have all these different events. And I learned a lot from them because I just asked questions and then they asked about what I do. And then they were also intrigued because they're like,
Mhm.
oh, like they're like, you wrote a book? That's so cool. And for me, I guess because I've written a book, it's not like a big deal for me personally, but for other people, they see that as a big deal. And it's like, yeah,
It's a big
yeah,
deal.
yeah, exactly, right? But when you do something for yourself, like you've already done it, it's not a big deal on your end. So yeah, I think learning to work through that, learning to figure out what was that time in your life where you did, where you were disappointed or your confidence was down because of it. Maybe it was, you were in school, you asked a question and all the boys laughed at you. Um, kind of work through that and kind of tell your brain like, hey, what happened in grade school is not going to happen in the boardroom. So yeah.
Yeah. And I guess like your dinner example is a good example of like every new place that you walk into, space that you walk into, there's an opportunity because you aren't known in that space yet, right? So like that intimidation factor can also be replaced by opportunity factor. I kind of use that in my like in customer success, we have to also do some selling, like upselling, right? And making sure that customers are still growing. And a lot of times that's an uncomfortable space for people that are very relationship focused. And I often say like you have to shift out of like the mindset of fear or like in that case it's like the mindset of this is not this is awkward for me or this is not it's uncomfortable to like shift to opportunity mindset, right? And then you go, okay, well, those people that you didn't know, all those men in the room, they were like interested and intrigued by what you do as an individual. And then, that actually created something interesting. So I love that. But by the way, writing a book is a huge feat. I have started so many books in my life. I'm a aspiring author since I was like 10 years old. And I've started so many books, and I can't tell you, the only ones I've finished are my co-authored book and my children's books that I published. So, I mean, I think it's an amazing feat that you've done two books in such a short amount of time. And I know you said maybe not a third one, but I don't know. You have a lot of good stuff in your brain. So we never know. Maybe not right now, maybe a little bit. Any questions from anyone in our audience? I'd love to give everyone a chance to chat with Sheena and pick her brain a little bit. Time for some coaching. We can do some live coaching too. Any questions?
Well, I think I'll just start off by saying thank you to you both for hosting this session. And Sheena, I've been a big fan of yours too for a while now, and also like you've been an inspiration as well because I recently been a co-author of a book as well. So I think you've been doing such amazing things. Yeah.
Congrats.
Um, so I guess I was gonna ask, hey, are you thinking about doing a third book? And if you had a choice to do a third book, what would it be about?
To be honest, I'm not thinking of a third book at the moment just because I've written two books in 2 years and people don't realize the marketing is more work than the writing. So I just need a break from writing books for a little
Okay.
bit. I know everyone keeps asking, and sometimes, when they're like, "Oh, when are you gonna do this? When are you gonna do that?" Sometimes you feel pressured to do it, but at the same time, you're just like, "No, I don't need to do it. I've already done it, and I just need a break. I just need to celebrate this moment. Like, yesterday I had a book launch party with my friends and family, which was really great because I got to celebrate it with the people that I love the most and who's really been there, even if they never understood what I was doing. Because, Asian families, they don't understand what you're doing
Yeah.
if you're not working a 9 to 5, right? And so for me, that was more meaningful than having like a big launch and like, like doing it like, having like media go there. For me, it was just like I just wanted something where we're all together. We can just have fun, we can relax, we can eat good food, um, and just celebrate it in that moment. So yeah. So right now I don't have a book. I have a lot of people giving me book ideas. But at the moment I'm just gonna celebrate this moment.
Well, thank
Love
you and
that.
congrats again.
Yeah, thank you.
I love the confident way that you know your answer on this too, because I think a lot of us, you toy with like, if somebody came and asked me, what's your third book? I'd be like, let's do it, but yeah, you're right. There's so much effort. There's so much, and there's a lot of reward. And it's nice to also lean into what you have done, the work you have done. There's so much to explore in it, right? So, love that. Any other questions for anyone?
Pausing to see if Linda has any questions before I ask my next one.
Go for it. Just yeah, go
Okay.
for it. And we can take we have a little bit of time here, so yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I know Sheena, you've been obviously an inspiration for an Asian Canadian like myself. Like and I know that it's reached down south as well. What's been the international reception of your two books?
Um, I think just seeing, well, for the first book, it was really cool to see it at the bookstore in the Philippines. So I got to go home last year. I was at the bookstore. I got to show my grandma, like, look, grandma, I have a book at the bookstore. So, and it's not just like a little bookstore, it's like basically the Barnes and Nobles of the Philippines. So I was really grateful for that. And then just for this current book, just seeing people from different parts of the world reading it, sharing it out, getting media from like um, uh, outlets from Europe, having people buying the book from like Singapore. For me, that's a big deal because, this book is for everybody, of course, especially for women in different parts in the world who still go through a lot of inequality, especially in Asia. So to see that and see them have like a shift of how they see things is really what really gives me joy. I also had a book signing in LA and got to see it at the Grove, at the Barnes and Noble at the Grove. So it was really cool just to see my book there. So for me, just like, yeah, I think it's just really like wild to see all these things, but at the same time, I'm really grateful because, we don't really know what we're capable of until we go out there and do it. And really, bridging the confidence gap is all about bridging that, right? Like knowing, like believing that you're capable and knowing that you're capable, connecting the two. That's how you make the change. That's how we can empower each other to do great things.
Thanks for that.
I love that. Love
I'll
that.
just keep going. I have another
Keep going.
question.
And I have one more question, so keep going. So
Okay.
we're solid. We got plenty of time. Yeah, go for it.
I guess one of my thoughts, again, I know you're pausing on the third book, but like, what's your guidance for your like somebody like mothers like we have on the chat here, like Parul and myself? Like, I have two young daughters. How do what's the guidance in terms of building up their confidence at a younger level? Because I feel like I'm getting at a point now, like I'm probably mid-career, but how do you kind of address that younger generation?
Yeah, I mean, I think having talks for school kids is important. I have done some talks for kids, especially like grade 6 to 8. I think that's very hard at a time where like they're about to hit puberty and everything's like weird in their bodies and just everything, right? Um, and also like seeing, I have a friend who brings her daughter to like a girl boss class, so it's like confidence classes for little girls, which I think is amazing because people don't realize girls have confidence issues as young as 6. Unfortunately, they don't teach confidence at school, which I think they do need to teach confidence. So I think just showing them different examples of people who've paved the way, seeing your own journey, how you decided to also get into doing your own thing at your age, I think is important because there's no such thing as an expiry date. We can start at any given moment. Like I wrote my first book at 40. So for me, back 5 years ago, I would have been like, I can't write a book. I'm too old, right? But really, there's no such thing. So I think your own actions will inspire them. Having a safe space for them to talk, I think, is really important, especially maybe they're going through something. Knowing that they could come to you without any judgment, I think, is important. Especially with social media, right? Social media can be good and it can be bad. So, even being honest with them, like, hey, sometimes what you see on social media isn't the truth, right? It's all these edited photos. It's all these perfectly curated photos to help you see something that doesn't exist. So yeah, and then maybe even enrolling them in things that will help them build their confidence. It could be learning to learning karate or self-defense or learning a new sport or even going to confidence classes. I don't think there's anything wrong with that because I think it is important to help them build that confidence at a young age. That's why boys are more confident because they've been taught confidence since they were little, right? And they've been constantly taught how to be more confident, how to accept rejection, right? Like in the dating world, if a guy goes to a club, his one goal is to get one number, just one number, right? He'll go through 100 women to get one number, and he doesn't care if he gets turned down 100 times because his goal is to get one number. So if he got the one number, he's good, right? If we were to do that, the first reaction, we'd already be eating ice cream. I know I would. So how confidence is taught among children needs to be changed, right? And I do think personal development is just as important as learning science and math and all the other subjects in school.
I feel like I'm seeing, I mean, like hearing so many parallels to like, it's so interesting because obviously we're not talking about the world I live in, customer success, but I'm seeing so many parallels because the space, it's a function in software that basically is responsible for the life of the customer, including renewing the customer, right? But nobody in this space is given the right skills. Like we're not trained as sellers. We're not trained in general, right? We just kind of throw teams together. We piece them together. And interestingly, I feel like what you're saying is kind of a methodology for any growth, right? Any kind of growth. It has to start in the early days, right? So the messages we send to our children are similar to the messages we send to anyone doing any kind of a role. You have to kind of train them the way that you want them to feel or think differently because confidence is not just innate, right? Some like I already read I was listening to another podcast last week and they were talking about like how anxiety now is starting like in almost everybody born after 2005. It's like there's like a baseline of anxiety for kids, right? Because they're just coming into a different world. And I was like, what? Why? Right? Because many of us before the days of the cell phone, we never could like see ourselves that much that people are seeing themselves. And it's the advent of like the digital, the iPhone that's really like changed a lot of anxiety behaviors. I was like blown away by that. So anyways, it's just so interesting. You're kind of like saying the same thing, which is like, we need to think about cultivating people from the ground up.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about your groups because like you have the Tao Queens. Wait, you have two groups. I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up right now. But can you tell us a little about the groups and like what can people get if they join the groups and what are some opportunities to, potentially personally grow too?
Yeah, I mean, the groups that I have is really support, having a support system, just having inspiration, talking about upcoming events and upcoming projects that we have. One of the things that I really think is important for women is to embrace AI, right? Because
So yeah, so true.
now there's an AI gap. Unfortunately, women don't trust it as much, and I totally get it because I was there. But I also realize how powerful it is if we use it for good. AI is a tool like everything else, right? Whether you use it for good, then good things happen. When you use it for bad, then bad things happen. When people say money is the root of all evil, it's like no, money isn't evil. It's how you use money that makes it evil. So you have to find find the difference. And so with AI, it's really important to just start using it, kind of like the Ready Fire Games. Just start, right? Like I didn't even know what a prompt was when I started using ChatGPT. Now I use it for everything, right? And I know people get scared sometimes saying like AI is going to replace your jobs, but really human connection is more powerful than we realize. Yes, there's going to be things that are going to be replaced. They said that about the internet. They said Uber was going to replace taxis. They said Airbnb was going to replace hotels. Really has it? No. I even read an article where there was a hotel in Japan that was ran by all robots. So their whole staff was robots. And they fired the robots because they didn't do a proper job and had to hire humans. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, so it's just important to embrace it, utilize it, um, to help you and help create a positive impact. Like I mentioned, it's a tool, and how you utilize that tool is what's really important. Not everyone's going to use it for good, unfortunately, right? But we're here to do something different to create a better tomorrow, especially for our younger generation, for the young girls and women out there who need it now more than ever. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And AI, I mean, if anyone's looking for a way to get into AI, my first AI query was what are some kid-friendly wineries in France when I was visiting last year. And it was a fun way to get into the ChatGPT life for me. I got some really good information out of there. Okay, Linda is here. She's listening at work. So thank you, Linda, for listening in nonetheless. Very happy to listen. And we're really happy that you were able to join as well. So thank you for the comment. Do you have any questions? Do you want to type any questions? Let us know. We will check in the chat. Any other questions from anyone? And Karen, I'll give you, I know you might have one or two more. Okay, well, we might be good. We might be wrapping up. Well, we have a book that we were going to give away too, so I totally forgot that at the end. Sheena has offered very kindly to give away a copy of her book to somebody on our call today. So thank you, Sheena, for doing that. We'll send an email right after the call to let you know who you are, lucky winner. But also, this is really like a fun read for me because, to be honest, like I'm going through these things right now. So I love when you pick up a book and you're like, I'm going through these things, I'm living it, and I actually can go and apply. And I told Sheena just now, I'm like, I'm gonna go launch the thing today because I was like, I've been holding on to this thing forever. And what is the problem, right? Why do I hold myself back? And I have to give you credit for that. So thank you so much. This was really nice, and thanks for letting me like pick your brain on all the things. Appreciate it, and we hope to see more things coming from you. And if you do have any digital sessions, do let me know. I'd love to join. And thank you for everyone that joined, and for everyone that listens in on YouTube. We'll put all of Sheena's links into the YouTube as well, so you can follow along with her and the journey. And we are going to look forward to more awesome things from Sheena. Oh, Linda just also wrote a comment, which I want to point out. Confidence has always been a struggle for me. Didn't want to pass that on to my daughter, so I'm working to get past it. And Linda, this book is really inspiring. You might be a lucky winner. So just hold on a second while we email you back. But I think that this is a great book for anybody that even wants to empower themselves, empower future generations. I think it's really simple concepts too. Like, you paint pictures using things that we all can relate to, like the Barbie movie, or like, some famous kind of women in leadership and other positions. So it's really nice because you can really connect those dots easily. So thanks, Sheena. Again, thanks for joining us. It was awesome. And
having me.
It was so great to have you. I hope everyone has a great rest of their week ahead. It's Monday, and have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.